In this video, I will explain a few ways to increase stitches when knitting combination Continental Eastern European style. We will talk about how to increase with holes if you need to, for example, if you have an open work chart, or how to avoid those holes. See, those are increases without holes. There are different ways to do that, but what's more important and what is my goal for this channel is to explain the anatomy of the stitch, the logic behind it, explain why we do this or that. Before we even start the increases, you need to understand the main concept, what we are going to do here today. We defined a center stitch like this, and I will be showing you increases to the right from this stitch and to the left from this stitch. Now, what is important to understand is that an increase does not come from nowhere. Increase is basically a new stitch, and you have to have a source for this new stitch. And today we're going to be talking about 3 sources of a new stitch. The first source is a yarn over. The second source is this little stitch in between actual stitches. See, this is what your stitches look like, and there's this little thing in between of those. And the first and the third source of a stitch is this donor stitch. And first, we will start from increasing with holes. And increasing with holes you might need for some lace charts, for some open work sweaters, just like that. Holes are not necessarily bad. Some patterns imply those holes, so let's talk about that. And the first thing we will be covering are the yarn overs. And there are 2 ways to yarn over, like scooping it this way or going this way. Since I want to show the symmetry and the idea of going to the left, to the right, I will be doing yarn over this way for the right side and this way for the left side. Okay, so yarn over this center stitch, which is just a divider, and yarn over, which I go from like underneath, and the next stitch I just knit. What do we have here? We have this central stitch and we have very obvious holes. Okay, halfway done. Now let's see what is going on the purl side. So on the purl side, the idea is to keep those holes. And remember, for this combination continental style, the purl stitches, remember, I purl them through the front loop. Now we're getting closer to those holes, and the idea of the purl stitches is to keep those holes because for some reason we need it. Let's say we are making it like an open work chart. Okay, so if I go through the front loop like all the previous stitches, let's see what happens. Oh, it created a twist and my nice hole disappeared. I do not want that. What do I want here is I want this hole to remain, and this is why I will go through the back loop to keep this open work element open. Now this is our central stitch. Remember, this is the center, and it's clear here. Remember, it was a different yarn over, and it goes as all these stitches go. We have this front leg here, so you just purl it like all the rest here, like all the stitches, you go that way. So I have this hole and this hole, and the difference between them, between these two yarn overs, is that they were captured differently this way and this way. And depending on the yarn over, I went through the front loop or through the back loop, purling them. I hope that makes sense. Now, what if I yarn over like this at the right side from my central stitch and kind of scoop this thread to the left side of the stitch? Let's see what happens. Do I still have those nice holes here and here? Yes, I do. And now let's see what happens on the purl side. Okay, here's my central stitch, and see this stitch, I just purl like all the rest because I have this leg in front very clearly, and if I purl it, there's no way it twists. Okay, a regular purl stitch, and here I have the same thing. If I go through the front loop, the stitch will be twisted. I don't want that. I just want to keep my hole. So that's why I will go through the back loop, through that back leg. Now let's take a look at the knit side. Is there a big difference which yarn over use where? No, not really. Not for this one, not for the holes. So you can yarn over either this way or this way. Okay, with my camera off, I just made 2 more rows, 2.5, and now let's talk about the second way to increase with holes. And this second way implies pulling this middle stitch. It's like this little stitch in between actual stitches, and creating a stitch from it. So the first way is to grab it from the back and put it on the left needle. See what direction it goes to? It's just the same direction as all the rest of the stitches go. So you just knit it and you have this nice hole just like you wanted. What is the other way of doing that? Now for the symmetry, you can use the second way of forming this stitch. You can grab it from the underneath, and now you see this front leg of this stitch. It's not like a stitch yet, but imagine if it's a stitch. If I go through the back loop, it will be twisted. I don't want that for an open work sweater. I want my hole to remain. So what should I do? I should go through the front loop. Yes, I should go through the front loop, just like this. And I have this hole right here and right here. So you've just got 2 ways of picking a stitch from in between of those actual stitches. And you just need to figure out which leg of the stitch you should use, through which loop you should go to keep this hole. Okay? Now let's see what happens on the purl side. And on the purl side, pretty much nothing happens because we've already formed this stitch on the knit side, and we've already knitted it on the knit side, and they became our regular purl stitches. I just purl those through the front loop as I purl the rest of the stitches. Let's see what we have here. 2 nice symmetric holes. Of course, they are smaller than the holes that were made from a yarn over. Now, let's talk about the next way of forming stitches, and let's talk about a donor stitch. With a donor stitch, it's a little bit trickier, because if you want to use the same way to have two holes to the right and to the left from the middle stitch, well, it doesn't really work, because, well, if you want that, you need to use this method or this method. So with this method, with a donor stitch, what we can do, we can use this wing of the stitch, this side of the stitch, pull the yarn through it, and basically, does it look like a stitch? Yes, it does. Let's do it again. So this is the donor stitch. It's the stitch from the previous row, and you just need to pull it a little bit to the side. Don't twist anything, and pull the yarn through this side of the stitch. Now the central stitch, I will just knit it, and this is the left side of the donor stitch, and I just go through this stitch, forming another stitch. As easy as that. But see, the problem here is that it creates the hole on the center stitch. So if your chart implies that if you want that hole on the center, you can use this method. Now let's see what happens on the back side, on the purl side, and pretty much nothing happens, because you've already formed the stitches and you knitted them on the right side, on the knit side. So here are my purl stitches, and I still go through the front legs, see, like this, and it doesn't have any difference from the other stitches. Let's take a look at the knit side. See, it has that hole, that nice hole, not on the left, not on the sides, but it's like a center hole. Okay, if you need more of those, you will just use this side of the stitch and this side of the stitch that goes right above this hole, and this stitch will be donoring its wings to the new one and to the new one. I hope that makes sense. Now let's talk about the situation when you do not want those holes. Before we start, we need to remember here that again there are three sources of a new stitch: a yarn over, and then this stitch in between, and a donor stitch. And the basic idea of forming a twisted stitch so that this twist kind of covers the hole is that a stitch can be twisted two ways. There are only two ways to twist the stitch. Here's the stitch, and you can twist it either this way or this way. Now let's say you want to use yarn overs for increases, but you do not want those holes. I mean, these are good for an open work sweater, but if you don't want an open work sweater, can you still increase using yarn overs? Yes, you can, but there's a trick. Remember, there are two ways of forming that loop, of forming that twist. Either this way or this way. And this is how the yarn over works. So I have this yarn over. If I leave it this way, it will create a hole. I don't want that hole. So I make this twist. See, it's like this loop I showed you. And this yarn over goes on my right knitting needle. Okay, and then I have this stitch, and this one I'm gonna twist the other way, like this, like this. And I'm gonna put this new stitch on the right knitting needle. Now I'm just making a few more, I'm just knitting a few more stitches, and if you take a closer look, you see that this is the central stitch, this is the first yarn over we twisted, and this is the second yarn over we twisted. So we twisted them into two different directions. And now let's see what happens on the purl side. Okay, this was the central stitch. This is a twisted yarn over, and this is a twisted yarn over. Well, if I purl this one through the front loop, it kind of creates another twist, which I would like to avoid. So for this stitch, see, I already have this twist. So I would like to go through the back loop here, like this, because I already have that twist. Now this regular center stitch, and now we have another twisted stitch created from a yarn over, and here it's, you know, it's more obvious that it should be purled through the front loop, because if you go through the back loop, oh, it's, you know, it's obvious. First of all, it's not convenient, oh my god, and it's obvious that it would create another twist. So as you go, if you forgot which way you went, just try on a swatch. I know first it's a little bit tricky, but try and see, did this stitch twisted twice? You just need once to avoid that hole. And figure out, there are just two ways to implement this stitch, through the front loop or through the back loop. There are no other sides of this stitch. So try and make sure you understand where your thread goes. Now let's take a look at the front side. Now, do you see any holes? No, I don't. Can you tell where do the increases grow from? Yes, this one and this one, and this was the central stitch, and I had this loop here, and this was the front leg here, and this was the front leg here. Now, can you make this increase the other way, create the loop the other way, not like this, but like this? Well, yes, of course. Yes, of course. Now, in order to make this explanation even more clear, I made 2 more rows. Now, this was this center stitch, this was the yarn over with the twist that I showed you, and this one that increase with the yarn over. See, it went like this. This one went like this. And now I did this one here and this one here. So I just switched the places of these yarn overs. So this one goes like this and this one goes like this. Here's what happens. This is literally what happened? These are just the same increases, but I started this one. I just switched the places of those increases. And see, this is what happened. This is your central stitch. This increase, this yarn over went this way, and this yarn over went this way, and this went like this, and this went like this. So I just switched them. This one is this one, this one is this one, this one is this one, this one is this one. Which one you want to use? You have to see what your own pattern says, or what your logic says, or what looks better. Now, another dirty secret. This is a sleeve that I was making, and see, I was using 2.5mm needles, and there are a bunch of increases here. Honestly, I don't remember which side I went for. Just this was an increase, this was an increase, and you know, since this is the edge, my sleeve went like this from bottom to top, and here I had those increases, and I don't even know which side my increases went. I don't remember because I personally cannot see it, and everything and all of these things, they will go inside the seam and you will never find those increases. So try, figure out, and let's move on to the next topic. Now, do you always need a yarn over to form a stitch? No, let's make an increase without a yarn over. This is our central stitch, and I will be making 2 increases before the stitch and after the stitch. Now, if you take a closer look at the fabric, you see that there are these little stitches. Okay, they kind of go in between each knit stitch. This one, this one, this one. And we're gonna create a stitch out of those ones, but the logic, the idea that I was explaining you here and for the previous methods, it's pretty much the same. So we grab this stitch. Now what happens if we don't twist it, if we just knit it? We create a hole. It's okay if you need that for a purpose, if you make it an open work sweater, but what if you don't? Then you need to twist this little stitch. And again, there are 2 ways of twisting it. This is the first one. See how the twist goes? From here down there. You twist it. Okay, and then let's this is the central stitch. Let's create this stitch the other way. Create this twist the other way. See where the twist goes? From here down there. Just like this. And then when you created that twist out of the stitch from the previous row, you just knit this stitch. Okay, and then you continue to the end of the row, and I will show you what's going on the purl side. Pretty much, since we've got the twist on the knit side, on the purl side shouldn't happen much. On the knit side, we need to respect the way the stitches face. Okay, and see, we are going through this front loop, and We're going on and on and on, and we don't even notice. We didn't even notice where the twist was, because the twist happened on the knit side. And we just purled through the front loop, just like we did for regular stitches. Now let's see, where are these stitches? This was the central one, this was the central one, and this was an increase, and this was an increase. Can you do this one first on the right and this one on the left? Of course you can. It's just whatever looks better for you. This is the central stitch, and let's make another increase here and another increase here. So this was the central stitch. Okay, and let's make this twist. Let's make this twist. Okay. Goes from here up there and just knit it. Okay, and then this central stitch, and let's make another one, and we will be twisting it the other way. Okay, and on the purl side nothing happens. Now let's take a very close look at what's going on. This was the central stitch, an increase here, an increase here. Well, I hope this twisting makes sense to you, but another dirty secret, you really have to pay very close attention to see how this stitch is formed. I mean, can you tell which is where? It's really hard. So just try to see the anatomy of the stitch. Now there's another way of increasing, and for that method we will be using just one stitch, and the idea is to twist the right side of the stitch and the left side of the stitch, creating that, you know, space for two new stitches. So I'm gonna go from this side and knit this stitch. But you see what happened? You just created the twist that goes from here up there. We've talked about it so many times. It's this one. Okay, and then I need this one, and let's say I want another increase here. Then I create another twist. Okay, and this is what we've got. We've got this central stitch, and the right one was formed from the right wing of the stitch, and this one was formed from the left wing of the stitch. But the idea is still the same, to figure out what we can twist and choose which way we twist first. It's really up to you. this way or this way. So just twisting the yarn is the key of making those increases. Now what happens on the purl side? And on the purl side happens nothing, because the stitches are already twisted on the front side, on the knit side, and you don't even notice where those increases happened. So you just purl normally and see what's going on the knit side. We've got this center stitch, and we had this increase and this increase, and they were formed from the wings of the stitch. I hope that makes sense.